city of Jerusalem. In today's video, I would like to share briefly deep insight in today's Parashat, the weekly reading of the Torah, reading Parashat Nasso. Parashat Nasso, we find different passages that start telling us about the different offerings of the different princes from different tribes and all the details and the vessels and different types of korbanot and offerings. Very strange. We find that in Parashat Nasso, we have one of the most important sections in the Zohar Kadosh, one of the fundamentals or the fundamental text of the Kabbalah. We find that there are two important, or the two main sections of the Zohar Kadosh is the Idra Sutta and the Idra Rabba. We find that the Idra Rabba is precisely in this week's Parashat Nasso, and the Idra Sutta, we find it in Parashat Hazinu. The core of the Zohar Kadosh, the secret of secrets, we find it in these two sections, Idra Sutta, Idra Rabba. So in this regard, we have that in this week's Parashat, the Zohar Kadosh explains and about the Idra Sutta. There's a commentary of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai with a group of Talmidei Chachamim, scholars, rabbis, and they are sharing deep mysteries on the Parzufim, the upper worlds, a lot of mysteries. And the text says that three of them die of ecstasies. While they are speaking, they die. The neshama leaves the body. So the same section explains what's going on with death. How do we see death? How do we perceive death in spiritually speaking? So the Zohar explains that death is equivalent to a person that is going to a level, down a level. So in the same way, death is compared to someone who is sinning. Someone who does a sin is like someone who goes down a level. Therefore, the sages explain, someone who goes down a level, spiritually speaking, is someone who is like dying slowly. The same way that life doesn't just happen like quick and spontaneously, but there is a process that takes place for life to happen. So too, death is a process. When someone passes away, you see the body, you think that the person just died just like that. It's not that simple. It takes time for the neshama to completely leave the body and go up to the higher worlds. So it's a process. There are different stages. In the same way, the Chachamim explained that a person that commits a sin, someone who goes around in this life with a lot of imbalances, a person who is constantly, instead of rectifying himself and working on himself, the person is more and more going astray. So we find that this person is like going down a level. And that's what the Zohar explains and said this is equal to death. When we're talking about here spiritual death. So a person who is constantly sinning, a person who doesn't have a good way of speaking, that is always saying like negative bad words, someone who is constantly lying, someone who is a thief, someone who kills, someone who very, very negative traits, we have that this person is going down levels more and more. So spiritually speaking, is someone who is dying slowly. Now the Zohar explains in this Torah reading, this parasha, he says in the Idra Rabba, so in the same way, a person can do teshuvah. And he says that nothing stands on the path of a person who wants to do teshuvah. And what means teshuvah? Teshuvah is to connect with the higher source, the source of everything, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So in the same way, we find that a person has the power. This is the power that God has given every single human being. The power to do teshuvah. And this is the power also of the free will. There is a koach, there's a strength that every human being has, and is the capacity, the ability, the power to fix things, to do a tikkun. If sometimes you hear people who say, no, but I was born this way, and I grew up in this family, and this is the way I learned, and I had this religion and this ideology, and I cannot change because I was born like this. These are all excuses. Clearly, the Chachamim explained to us that a person has the power to do teshuvah. You have the free will and you have the koach. You have the strength, you have the capacity, you have the ability to do a rectification. This is what we call teshuvah, repentance, to fix things, to change things. If we, in the family that you grew up, there's a certain way of doing things that is not appropriate, or your society, or your culture, or your country, whatever it is, you can always fix things. You can always relearn the proper path, the proper way, and walk straight in the path of God. So we find that a person has this koach, this strength, and this is something that is emphasized in this week's weekly Torah portion in Parashat Nasso, and in this section of the Idra Rabba, that a person has the power, the capacity, the ability to fix things, to change. A person can always improve and grow spiritually, but a person can always grow and improve also intellectually. You can always, if you want to learn, you go to the university and study a career, or if you want to start a business, or if things are going wrong, you can always fix things and you can improve and you can make things better. You always have the capacity to go a step above and grow in multiple areas. This is one of the beauties and one of the most important gifts that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to every single human being. The Ein Sof gave to all of his creations the ability to do teshuvah, to do repentance, which basically means to go back, meaning attach yourself to the higher power, to the Almighty. That's the ability to reconnect. So you have to have and take the time to reconnect, not only with God, but also with yourself, with your own neshama, with your essence, to reconnect with the Torah, to reconnect with your wife, with your husband, with your family, with your children, with your friends. If there is something that is broken, you have the capacity to fix things. We call this teshuvah, we call this tikkun, and this is one of the many lessons that we find in this weekly Torah portion, the Torah reading, Parashat Nasso, again, that hides within it, in the Zohar Kadosh, the very important text of the Idra Rabba. B'ezrat Hashem, may the Almighty bless you all, to you and to your family, send you blessings from the holy city of Jerusalem, Israel. May the Almighty bless you all. Shalom.